pills. You just put a few under your tongue. I'll give you a few. You put them under your tongue whenever you like. You know, you can take one at a time or three at a time, and you let them dissolve. They don't interfere with any other medicine. And if you'd like, you can have some.
Thank you. That's very kind.
Sure. My pleasure. So many fun things we're going to do today, this weekend, and today. So let's just start. Bring ourselves here into the space. The sweet feeling with all of you. Feels really nice. And then there's also room to kind of space, you know, as well. So we make a little retreat. And the one thing I wanted to say in general, can everyone hear me online? Actually, I can't see anyone online. So do you want to just somebody give me a photo and say, yes, you can see, you can hear?
We can hear.
Okay, you can hear. Great. Thank you.
Thank
So
you.
then just mute your microphones so that there isn't disturbance. Thank you. Wonderful. The rest of the people are probably in their pajamas or laying in bed. Okay. I'm joking. Somebody says, you're not joking. They probably are. I was, you know, when you were teaching in Zoom, first as we remember, we were getting used to it. And it took a while till the center scrambled to figure out their systems and have tech people. And then people started to get used to it. And then the participants started to get used to it. And people were enjoying being home with their cameras off. But so I was teaching a class, a Lojong mind training class. We're going to talk about that today and tomorrow. And a very dear friend of mine popped in from Los Angeles. I was on the East Coast. He was in Los Angeles with his wife, really dear friends. And they, you know, they're new to Buddhism, whatever, but they were in bed because it was very early. It was like 5 a.m. in Los Angeles, but they popped on and both were in bed with the bed back, and they were dressed and everything. It wasn't, you know, but it was very cute. And so later I said to him, it was like, you know, the John Lennon, Yoko Ono, love-in. And they were laughing. They just said, yeah, we were just, you know, it was very cute and they were very attentive the whole time, but it was funny how they just, that's where the TV was, and it was easy for them to do. So
some teachers require that you have your camera on.
They do. And I will say one thing, and I will say things to you guys online as well, is, and so for some people it's far to drive or they're not in vicinity. No problem. It's great because you can join teachings anywhere. But some centers actually start by saying that the etiquette's still there, and they make an announcement to say, pretend, you know, feel like you are in a Gompa. And there are people that, you know, make prostrations online. They will get, you know, as if they're in a Gompa. The center in London, I really like it, where they just do all the traditional prayers, just like you do. This is for Geshe Namdok for his programs, because it sets up, you know, a certain sense and ambiance in the room of the way it's really done to promote, and that center is really flourishing. So he's Dutch. He's not Tibetan. He's Dutch. And he's great. He's a dear friend. But they do all the prayers, and those prayers take sometimes like 15, 20 minutes. But that's the way it's normally done to get your mind in a position. And then, and it's hard for Westerners to get that. So they'll say, the center will make an announcement and say, as if you're in a Gompa, and put your camera on, and you're not eating dinner, you're not eating a meal during the classes, you're not lying down, you're not drinking wine, you know, it's actually, it's better for your mind. It's really better. It's about your mind, like that. And so the nice thing, what we have an opportunity this weekend is, I really feel all of these teachings are, it's not necessarily me teaching you. It is, let's learn together, because we all interact with each other. And then we're all interacting with a number of other beings all day long. like that through our busy lives. So I find that what the information we do get, can we roll it in to something that will benefit our minds, something that will uplift our minds, our experiences of daily life, and then that's what we're bringing to other people when we bounce off of them and interact with them. So it's so many different things. So I learned from you, different things, what works for you, what do you resonate with, what gets you to practice, things like that. So, because I'm interested in that, because centers, we were talking last night, but a lot of centers around the world, they're struggling to get people back in person. They're also struggling the world is struggling. How do we emerge from this thing we all went through? Nobody escaped. We all went through this together, which I found really interesting and kind of good that we all went through it. It wasn't just here or this population or that population. So, and then how do we reorient? Because things will be different. Things are different now. And yet, how do we maximize the opportunity, the time as well is exciting. I think some new opportunities are there like that. And that people can be on Zoom and listen to teachings anywhere in the world if you can't travel. Yeah. Okay. So the first thing we always want to do, I think the title is Another World is Possible.
Yes.
Is that the one? Okay. Another world is how do we, if we're not comfortable with the way the world's going, right, how do I work with my mind? Okay. Because it's not about fixing external, but if you fix your mind, seriously, the external can change. Like that, the external can look different, can appear different, and behave differently. So, in this orientation, the first thing we want to do, as you hear again and again, is to get a proper motivation established in your mind. You may have done it this morning, earlier, but we can rekindle it every moment. Can rekindle it. Think about the motivation continually. So just sit comfortably for a moment. Just sit. Make sure the spine, nice open extension. And what I find so helpful in finding my balance every day, and yet also keeping that balance through the day as much as possible, is just for a moment being still. So adjust your position so that you're comfortable. And here's a really important component. In the stillness, in what you may call meditation, so we have to be relaxed about it. Let's take a couple of minutes right now. Start at the very top of your head. Just estimate a couple of minutes and you're going to work down through your whole body, bringing more relaxation into every aspect of the body, especially where you may find you're holding tension. So do check your brow and jaw, neck and shoulders, places you hold a little bit more tension. And just with a normal breath, can you slow the breath down a little as if you're counting 5 to 6 seconds on an inhalation, 5 to 6 seconds on an exhalation. And as you inhale, imagine space opening up in your body and mind, easing the tension, easing the knots, constriction. And every exhalation, releasing that tension as much as possible. Feel all that tension moving out and all the way out the feet and toes. Reflect on your motivation, your purpose. Why did you come here today? What if the information you receive helps you move a little bit more beneficially into a practice or deepening your existing practice, giving you some ideas, techniques to dismantle challenges, challenges in the mind, misunderstandings in the mind, and then to encounter external challenges more positively. And can we use that? Think about using it on a path that completely releases you from any suffering for all time. Helps you reach a place where all the qualities, all the beneficial, positive qualities are fully manifest in your mind. Where you are a Buddha, a fully awakened being. For this deeper purpose, more expansive purpose to benefit all living beings, to serve all living beings perfectly. And we do it with great joy, incredible presence of mind, with laser-like insight and wisdom. So if you like that motivation, that Mahayana motivation, feel free to include it in your purpose and take a moment right now to set a good motivation for our time together and all the activities of the rest of your day. So if you have a particular teacher, particular guru, if you don't, you think of Shakyamuni Buddha over top your crown, or you think of His Holiness the Dalai Lama, or someone that resonates with you, higher level being. Imagine them about 6 inches in height over top your crown, facing the same direction as you. A presence as if they're really there. What we would call virtuous friend. Virtuous friend. So the dear heart of a friend, the warmth of that, who helps uplift your mind to proceed in virtue every moment, to reach for virtue, to choose virtue. So we're doing virtuous actions, virtuous experiences we're creating as much as possible, because that gets us to enlightenment more quickly, to benefit all living beings. Just think about this being there on your crown, and take a moment right now to ask them for whatever you need right now. Just in your mind and your heart. Make that connection with them. And take a moment. Let's just think about our precious human lives, the grace, unbelievable the situations we have now. Please reflect. So if we formally meditate on a perfect or precious human rebirth, we would take time day after day to cycle through 18 situations, 8 freedoms, 10 richnesses or endowments, situations we have, situations we're free from that make up this precious life. So let's just imagine right now. And if you want to do it on a more unconventional level, we've done this before in here. Think about all the positive circumstances of your life. Just sit through those for a moment. There are so many, whether it's just having relatively clean air to breathe, clean water to drink, right out of the tap. We may have loving family and friends, food, clothing, shelter, electricity, easy infrastructure, decent public education. You may have a decent job, a way to support yourself. On and on and on. Many of these situations we take for granted. Think about them now. Think about them more deeply right now. And let that appreciation grow. Let that gratitude grow deeply in your core, spreading out through your entire body and mind. Let it fill you up with bliss, appreciation, and a dedication to use this particular privilege as best as you can, as long as you can, to make those deep imprints in your mind of positivity. Think about your positive qualities. So, your own positive qualities, you have many. Even though a part of your mind may say you don't have any, you do. You have Buddha nature, a seed that can ripen into a fully realized being. You're here in this room right now. Some wisdom there, some interest, exploration to come here. Fantastic. You may be a dutiful daughter, a good mother, good friend. Definitely have shown kindness at times. You're a hard worker. Took someone out for a meal, bought somebody flowers. Fantastic. You try your best. Again, let that fill you up from your core, spreading out through all the different systems of your body, melting over every organ, touching every cell in your being. Fantastic situation you have created for yourself. Drink it in. And think about the teacher on your crown, the guru or the Buddha. And imagine he's very happy. They're very happy with our practice. And light rays begin to pour forth from their heart, filling their whole being and exploding out of all the pores above your crown and descending down through your crown and melting any negativity, any imbalance, washing that all down and out and granting you all the grace, blessings, realizations of their holy body, speech, and mind. And we'll recite Shakyamuni Buddha's mantra, a very short mantra. Some of you know it. As much as you can, focusing on this visualization. mune, maha mune, so. Taya tam, om mune, mune, maha mune, so. Taya tam, mune, mune, maha mune, so. You can recite some on our own at any pace. Same visualization. Just imagine that being on your crown, very happy with your practice, and slowly dissolves from the edges of that visualization, or you can dissolve a replica of them into a radiant drop of light that melts into your crown. Dissolving to your heart. Feel all the blessings of their holy body, holy speech, holy mind. May any benefit from doing this short practice help us reach that fully enlightened state so we can be of the most benefit to all living beings. Please relax and slowly open your eyes. Sorry.
Is it too close?
How do we get rid of those things?
Oh, good question.
Thank you. It's like, I don't know if it's on the recording or if it's,
Oh, it should.
I was afraid I'd
Let's
turn
see.
off the Zoom meeting. I didn't want to do that.
And well, we'll find out. I don't, there. No, cancel. There we go.
Okay, can we move that also out of the way?
This.
I
Well,
usually
this
just
is
put it
like your,
down.
if you want you want it down.
Yeah, just all the way. Yeah, somewhere. Okay, good. Thank you. Thanks very much.
And is it too cold for you? Oh, let's do that.
Do you want it like that or gallery?
No,
Yeah.
that's good.
Okay.
That's good. Thank you. Thank you. So I just wanted to introduce that practice because again and again, people are asking me, what do I do? How do I do it? And sometimes we need to do it together. And this is a very abbreviated way I did it. So what I've sent out to Rebecca and Don, some of you got that they will send out to those of you that are attending, is some information. It's like a page and a half with links, booklets you can order for free, can download. It's different links of how you get a practice started. So there's additional prayers on that information. But what the prayers do is they set up a motivation and a balance, and it's super helpful. So what I just did was like a really short guru yoga practice. Guru yoga, yoking yourself, connecting you to this higher level that you want to manifest in yourself. So again, I say this again and again, that's what the external teacher is bringing you to. You're simply manifesting in a certain way. Sometimes it inspires us. Sometimes you say, oh, I want to be like that. I want that quality. And we want to get the right motivation in place to benefit all living beings, right? But what it does is inspire. So through this practice, I'm going to introduce you to a couple of prayers right now that go into that we didn't do, but just to show you how to put it together. And all of this is in that page and a half. It's all there. So there's a simple Guru Yoga, the Shakyamuni Buddha practice booklet that has all these prayers. There's Lama Tsongkhapa Guru Yoga, second level. You want something a little bit more elaborate. You've been at this for a while. You want to, great. There's a more elaborate Lama Chopa, better when you have highest yoga tantra initiation, but it's okay if you don't, but it just takes people longer. So that medium one for some of you is perfectly appropriate. And then what is included in it is something called a 7-limb prayer. 7 lines, okay? But they're in different, some of them are more elaborate. So the Lama Tsongkhapa, the medium length one, has a little bit more elaborate 7-limb prayer, meaning a few verses for each line. The Lama Chopa is more elaborate, many verses for each line. Okay? And you do it through visualization, you visualize. So I just want to look at the 7 limbs, just so you understand, like, what is this about? And it's right here. And if you go to, and I'll show you if you want, I think this might be in. So what I included was Lama Zopa Rinpoche's, because this is a highly realized being. He has a daily life practice. Okay, daily life practice. So that link is also included. The link may go to what's called box.com. So it's contained in a box. You just sign up for a box and you download it. It's quite easy. But it may also be on the FPMT website connected to that. So, but what Lama Zopa Rinpoche's life practice, he includes a link to this booklet, prayer booklet. This has everything in there. This contains as well the Shakyamuni Buddha practice booklet is already in this. Or you want the free booklet separate? You want a little booklet? No excuses when you travel, that booklet goes with you. It's really thin. I give it out to people on pilgrimage. So again, there's no excuses. Like this, we're trying to make it as easy for you as possible. And I'll just show you in this gold prayer book. So you have a link to the gold prayer book. I think you can download it for free. But again, it's always nice on the FPMT website if you can make a donation. You know, they're providing us these materials. It's very helpful. Is I think used to be in here with that Shakyamuni Buddha practice booklet. Yes. And everything's in here. You got, okay, here it is. Daily meditation practice. It is page 167. That's the practice booklet. So they just popped it right into this thing. You know, some people just want the whole prayer book. So there it is. And it says a daily meditation practice. So every day, this is what you can do. And what's nice about it is has motivations. It tells you exactly kind of what to think, how to set it up, what, you know, and like that. And then when you get to, okay, page 178 says 7-limb prayer. Okay. The 7 limbs are in this order: paying homage, and it says making reverently I prostrate with my body, speech, and mind. So and what that does is it counters pride. Now, some people that are more engaged in practice say, I think I want to do a certain set of prostrations every morning because it kind of gets your blood flowing. It's a purification practice. It's an intense purification practice. Some people like physical exercise. Great. Okay. And so the other thing is we have something called Nundro. And I think Rinpoche puts that in his daily practice for life activities. I think he lists. We technically have 9 Nundro, which mean preliminary practices. In our tradition, there's 9 formal ones. Then he adds some others that he's added on, like, you know, give us some variety. Okay. But there were originally 9. And what you try to do is the traditional way. Tibetans have been doing this for years. You do 100,000 sets, 100,000 of each of those type of practices. So I'll give you an example. So prostrations is one. People go, I'm going to make 100,000 prostrations. Are you out of your mind? When I heard that, I was like, and I met people in Bodh Gaya, India doing that around the stupa. All day. They go at 4 a.m. because it was cooler. All day long, hours of prostrations, full length prostrations. So initially, I didn't have any appreciation for that. You know, I started with a different Nundro, water bowls. That was Rinpoche advised me, start with that. So again, there were people I knew that did prostrations that said, I'm never doing water bowls. I don't have the patience for that. But each of them has a different effect on your body and mind. Okay? Prostration is very physical, purifying the body intensely. like that. Water bowl's liquid, it's water. So it's very emotional when you're doing it. Washes, cleans. Water bowls create prosperity for you. Prosperity for you. So I didn't know much about these in undergrad, but I heard about them, thought I'll get started. And this gives you some other activity to do. Some people retire now and they go, what should I be doing? You got time to do preliminary practice. You do it at home. You don't need to go to Laudo in some faraway place that's hard to get to. And so I was doing these water bowls actually at Laudo, my first retreat there, first time there. But I didn't know about the prosperity. I found that out, but I did them. I tried to do them as good as you want to do quality. It's not about the numbers. Do them well. Because it's about you purifying your mind and creating conditions in your mind. So you get caught up in the numbers. And then we had little circuits of us doing a lot of them. And so people get competitive. Oh, you already did that one? I got to do it. How long did it take you to do it? Oh, 6 weeks. I did mine in 8 weeks, and none of that matters. It's you and your mind. It's you and your mind. Okay. So the water bowls I finished, I must have done, I don't know, 140,000, very harsh conditions, right? Very difficult, but I hung in there. I gave up many times. It was Rinpoche and his sister keeping me alive. Like it was just, he wasn't there, but it was amazing, through his sister, how he works. And then I finished the number. And then at the end, I didn't get any mail at Laudo in those days. It was written mail. We didn't have internet. Okay. So written mail. And one piece of mail slipped up because I was supposed to pick up my mail at Kopan down at Kathmandu. One piece of mail slipped through, a note from a friend. They knew I was doing these retreats and staying in Asia, and they were offering me $1,000 so I could stay longer. I never asked them for money. I never even said like I'm so prosperous. So then it deepened my faith. I went, oh, maybe. So again, you change your mind, external world changes. I'm not kidding, but you have to engage to do the practices to have your own experience. I'm not kidding. So many, many times stuff like that's happened to me, and it deepened my confidence. I think there is something to it. If I do this stuff with my mind, the external looks differently, can look better, brighter. I can be more positively engaged with it. I don't have to get as wobbly when things don't go well. I have much more structure to keep myself balanced, to understand samsara's nature is suffering. So I don't have to get toppled by that. So some people, so prostration is very, and you may be in a wheelchair or whatever, and you sit and you just say that line, reverently, I prostrate with my body, speech, and mind. Like that. The second limb is offerings, making offerings. Again, this is your prosperity, generosity. This is beneficial for you. You get rich from making offerings. I'm not kidding. So again, a lot of our culture is like when you don't have a lot of money and you're poor, you tighten up, you don't give. So my experience was when I started running some of our centers, we didn't have any money. These 2 centers I was working at different times. We didn't have any money. And then I was learning about generosity and the Dharma. And it says that, I hear this in the teachings, but I don't know. And we started just as a center. There was some, you get charity, you get notices, you can give to this. And there were some great projects going on at the FPMT. So we as a group, and me as the director, I thought, well, we can give $10. Like $10 doesn't seem like anything, but we could give $10. We had that money. And I would just make the offering. I would write a check, or, in those days they didn't have PayPal. We'd send a check to some project. They're building a stupa, $10, right? But I would also, there's an offering practice. So you can just visualize that offering, our little $10, multiplying, filling all space. Gold showering down like that. And you can visualize, even if you want, water bowl offerings at all the holy Buddhist shrines you can imagine, towering over the stupa in Bodh Gaya or anywhere, this stupa, towering over Thubten Kunga Ling, like that, showering down, multiplying, filling all the space. Offerings are the finest qualities. So there's now, FPMT has an how to make offerings booklet. Download it for free. People like that, okay, offerings. So our center, from the little $10, and then sometimes I would make a donation. I don't have a lot of money, but I could do $10, right? So those kind of things, as director of the center, as the center itself, money started coming in. Donations got easier. People were giving money. Then we could give a little bit more money. Then more donations came in, right? Like that. And then I got to another center. That center was poor, right? And it was in a poor region of the States. People wouldn't give, they didn't understand generosity. They had this saying, generosity begins at home. Charity begins at home. Okay. That's okay. So we again did the same thing, $10 to this. But we also set up extensive water bowls every day. We had tables there, we had statues. We were doing water bowls every day. We got trained the staff. Then we had work study come in the summer. We trained them. So it's good for them. They learned, some of them really liked it. Oh, I like this practice. This is great. And every day they do it with the offering and the offering prayers. And they, when you really do the offering prayer, is it 5 minutes, 10 minutes, 15 minutes, whatever time you have, that's it. It's not like an hour practice. Now setting them up took a little time, but the whole thing actually, I would do it sometimes myself, a couple of tables. And I think the whole thing was under an hour, sometimes half an hour, I could set them up. You want to set them up nicely. There's a certain way, and there's a book, how you set them up, how to set up an altar, whatever. So we were doing that, every day, pretty much every day with a little bit of offering, trying, explain to the staff, and then money just started pouring in. Wasn't anything special we were doing. So it deepened my faith. Like there is something to this. Okay, that's the second limb offering. I present clouds of every type of offering, actually offered and mentally transformed. Mentally transformed, you're visualizing. Visualize all the offerings. Okay. And that cuts miserliness. So if you're a greedy, miserly person attached, that's the limb you want to practice. Number 3, rejoicing. The easiest way to accumulate merit or positive energy, rejoicing. Okay. And here it says, and rejoice in the virtues of, confession is third. I missed that one. Confession. Like Catholics, we also confess. I confess all my negative actions accumulated during beginningless time. This creates humility. I've messed up. Deep regret is very powerful. Different than guilt. Guilt is an obsessive cycling in the mind. Doesn't have any remedy. Doesn't go anywhere positive. But regret is, I'm going to take ownership. I messed up. Really hurt that person. Hurt myself. I feel really sorry. You could even have regret to the point of tears. Okay. But now I'm going to go on. Now I have my practice to do the remedies for that. So I'm doing something positive. I have an activity. Take action. And it says confession, a remedy to negative karma and disturbing thoughts. Okay. And it says including 3 poisonous minds. What are the 3 poisonous minds? 3 poisons are greed or desire or attachment. Ignorance. So ignorance is what they're rooted in. That's number 1. Ignorance. What's ignorance? Confusion. Ultimately, not having a direct perception of emptiness. First poison. And then when I have an underestimation, because I'm not seeing things accurately, sometimes I underestimate what's there. I'm not seeing it clearly. So sometimes you see a little something, reminds you of something scary, somebody you didn't like and all that. And then suddenly you start thinking that person's a jerk. I'm underestimating what's really there, not seeing them clearly. Okay. Underestimate. And then that causes hatred, hostility, anger, like that. The second thing is then sometimes I have a positive karmic seed that over embellishes the reality that's out there, over embellishes. I'm not seeing it clearly. I just vomit a projected fantasy onto what I see due to attachment and desire. And then I have to have that. 3 poisons. So greed is kind of fits into another delusion. We have not one of the 3, but we've got confusion, ignorance, same, anger, hostility, hatred, and then desire, attachment. 3 poisonous states of mind. So when you confess, you're counteracting that. Okay. Number 4, rejoicing, and rejoice in the virtues of all holy and ordinary beings. Okay. This helps you, it says, achieve the holy body of the Buddha, which possesses all the beauty, all the fine qualities. Specific remedy here to jealousy. To jealousy. And think about when you rejoice. So, and quick antidote, some people have more tendency to jealousy. Some don't. But the jealous mind, and think if you can just practice rejoicing. First, you may have to force it. And they have a thing, fake it till you become that, right? Fake it till you make it, we say. Fake it till you become that. So initially you might be rejoicing with, you hear they got the trip, the trip you wanted to go on. They're doing the pilgrimage. You can't afford it. And you're like, great. They're going, initially. So it feels fake, but you're trying. And eventually through the practice, honestly, the mind turns. And then you hear they're doing the trip and you're like, great. I'm happy for them. I'd love to go. So I'm really happy they can go. Like, that's great. Number 5, please remain until samsara ends. I'm asking the Buddhists to stay until cyclic existence ends. Okay, so they can help us. We need the help. And then in this way, if you have a merit field in front of you, a field of lamas, teachers, whomever, right? Imagine they're on golden thrones and you visualize a golden throne absorbing. So they have a place to stay. They have a place to stay, right? And on the golden throne, you can have, is there a double dorji here on the front of this?
There's one on.
Okay, so here's a double dorji. You can't, it's a little hard to see in the brocade, but the double dorji represents, dorji is a thunderbolt. Okay, back there, you see the double dorji? That gold on the, so
On the top, on the
the
shelf.
top right, golden one. So what it is a dorji, and that's okay. You don't need, it's, the dorji is a little thunderbolt. It's a little thunderbolt. It represents diamond hard, indestructible nature, bodhicitta, of our method, our skillful means. Okay. The double one is long life symbol. So you often see it like this. One is upright, one is sideways. On the front of thrones of teachers to help them live long. And that's what you visualize absorbing into those thrones you put any teacher on. Double dorje. Like that. So offering this golden throne, and you can say supported here, it says 8 snow lions. What do they represent? Fearlessness. That's the anchor that the Buddha sits on. No fear. And there's 8 different types of fearless, things that they're not afraid of. We want to achieve that. Okay, here the benefit, you achieve the Vajraholy body of the Buddha through this, and it purifies any disturbing thoughts you've had about the Buddha, karmic obscurations that prevent you from meeting an enlightened being, meeting a teacher, meeting an authentic teacher. Many people say to me, how do I meet my guru? I want to find a teacher now. Okay. And some people later in life, and it comes from karmic obscuration, you've created obstacles in meeting a guru, you didn't follow their advice, you disparage them in your mind, or with your speech, right? Which is really, really serious stuff. So, and then number 6, and turn the wheel of Dharma for sentient beings. Turn the wheel of Dharma means to teach. So you visualize a 1,000-spoked wheel, Dharma chakra, they call it. A wheel, chakra's wheel, a teaching wheel. And I visualize that dissolving into them so that it helps them to teach. Okay? And here it says, because of this, you achieve the Buddha's holy speech, okay, which has infinite qualities. You're guided in all lifetimes. And the limb is a special inconceivable cause of meeting the Dharma again in the future, specific remedy to ignorance and avoiding the Dharma. Last limb, I dedicate all the virtues of myself and others to the great enlightenment. Dedication verse. Okay, the limb plants the seed in the mind to achieve all the qualities of the Buddha and a specific remedy to heresy. I'm trashing the Dharma. I don't believe in that garbage. Like that. So that purifies all that. And you think that they've accepted our request and all the offerings and things like that. So it's 7-limb prayer. That's what the 7-limb prayer is. And here it just explains the grace. It's a very powerful prayer. Okay, now I'm gonna take you back in the prayer book right now. Everybody's got a copy of the prayer book. We're gonna go back to page 34. Okay, now this may seem tedious, but sorry, this is how you create another world. I'm not kidding you. This is, I know my mind. I know where I started, in the gutter, right? I'm not far from the gutter. Okay, I'm just like, you don't think I'm any holy being. I know I've got a bald head, maroon robes. We are the same, right? Like I said, we can learn a lot from each other and we have to help each other. Okay, but this is where I started. I didn't know any of this stuff. I wasn't going to be Buddhist. Came to a Buddhist class. Why did I go to the Buddhist class at Kopan? I went to a 10-day course in Kathmandu some years ago, right? Because I had an accident in Kathmandu. I nearly broke my shoulder, right? I was doing the Everest Base Camp trek. That's where I was headed alone because I heard it was safe for a woman. You could trek alone. It was fine, whatever. You know, I'd been in Asia for a couple of months, went to Nepal, I had a minor accident, nearly broke my shoulder and was like flattened, was really like, okay, I didn't plan for this, my 6-month trip, right? What grace. So here's another thing about your new world you're creating. Okay. Kaka happens. Stuff happens. That's samsara's nature. Stuff happens. You didn't plan on it. People say to me, people keep saying, oh, you're going to Laudo this summer? I hope I'm going. I don't know. It could get interrupted. I might not be able to get there. I get it. So when I go through that gate, and then I know I'm there. Yeah, okay. But I don't know that. Things interrupt all the time. People get sick. Stuff happens. Planes crash. It's the worst airport in the world to land there. Every time we land, I'm always like, thank you, Rinpoche, once again. Like, yeah, it's quite scary. So I had an accident and then saw a poster in a cafe, Kopan Monastery meditation course. So I looked at it, and when do you get a chance, especially in the States, to have 10 days to go to a meditation class? That's not where I'm going to use my holiday. I didn't have the luxury. You know, I got maybe 2 weeks off the year. Americans don't get enough time off. Okay. We were talking last night. Move to Europe. Seriously, you can all move to Europe. You can. It's possible for Americans. It's not so sane here, what's going on. But anyway, so I suddenly was like, well, I can't do anything right now because of my shoulder. I can't even carry a day pack. Call them up. And so I went to the course. So all this stuff about these prayers, and I wasn't going to be Buddhist. I was interested in what they were teaching, but just for information. You know, I didn't need to be Buddhist. I was quite happy with what I was doing. But they introduced stuff. I saw people making prostrations. 70 people in the course, taught by a Western monk from Australia. 70 people, but some people were already kind of practicing Buddhism. So it was an overview course, intro. So I see them making prostrations. I was like, I'm not doing that. Really, you know, I showed up very skeptical. So this is how we come to things. Okay. Then you have to dip your toe in. So what happened at the end of the course is some really strange things happened in the course, but I think it opened me up a little bit. Instead of being so rigid in my view, I was a little bit like, okay, maybe things like that are possible. Right? But a little softened my mind a little bit. You know, then the grace of Lama Zopa Rinpoche, I got to meet him at the end. I talked about that the other night. So, but what happens is I wasn't really, but again, fortunately, some little seed popped in me where I said, well, I'll try that prayer and just see. My experience was when I left the course after 10 days or so, I went down to my little guest house in Kathmandu. I didn't have a lot of money. Then the guest house, I think it was like 50 cents a night. Can you imagine? Right? Little sleepy place. But I had heard in the course is Buddhists don't even kill insects. Okay. I killed a lot of insects in my life, like thinking that was the thing you're supposed to do. You know, obeying my parents. In the spring, my mom would say, get the vacuum, go on the porch, get the porch right, clean the porch, vacuum up all the insects. So I'm obeying my mother. They weren't Buddhists, my parents. But then I heard about this is bad, killing insects. So I go down to my guest house. This is how you start, how you try. And I thought I will, and there's lots of insects in Kathmandu in my little sleepy guest house at the time. But I thought for 24 hours, I will experiment not killing insects. That's what they said. That impressed me. So I went, I wonder if I can do it. I'll just see, and I'm going to do it, and I'm going to assess how I feel at the end of doing it. So 24 hours, I did it. There were insects in the room. I could usher them out, get them out, and then at the end of the day, I liked how it felt in my mind. You know, I saw the spider scamper off a lot, let him do his life, but out of my room. But he has a life, he or she. And I like that. I was like, I think it's respectful, of all things. So I did a second day, a third day. I never stopped doing it. Now we kill insects. You drive your car. Sorry, you kill insects. Vegetables are, grown. You try not to eat animals, but even when vegetables are grown, insects die. You try your best. So I like that. And I was like, that's good. What else did they say about Buddhism? So I went back to some of my notes. That's what you have to try it. You have to really engage in it if you want it to be richer for you. You can come to classes, just show up, go to the Zoom thing and not do another thing, but it's only going to go to a certain level. And then your problem comes out and then you go, oh, I'm suffering now. Why am I suffering? And then you unfortunately start to grab bad habits in your life that aren't going to benefit. Like when you're suffering, blame somebody else. That's not the source of the suffering. So again, if you get deeper into the practice, then you have better antidotes and techniques that are really going to change something for you. Okay. So if you go to page 34, here it says daily prayers. Now, these are similar prayers you're going to find in the Shakyamuni Buddha part that we just came from further in the book. But again, here's refuge and bodhicitta. We're going to recite this 3 times. Okay. So this is one, there's one we do before the teaching. Okay. We're not going to do that one today, but it's very similar. It's just got one slight change in the 3rd line. But this is the one you do in your own practice. So if people take refuge with me, I ask, please just do this 3 times in the morning, 3 times in the evening with some feeling, thinking about refuge. Learn a little bit more about refuge. Cite this prayer. So if you'd like, this is a little simple morning prayer, just the way we set it up. And if you'd like, you can do these prayers first. Then you do your visualization, teacher on your crown, whatever, which different mantra you want to do. You want to visualize the Buddha of compassion on your crown. There's a version all the way on the right. That picture, 1,000-armed Cherishing, 1,000-armed Buddha of compassion, all the way on the right on that wall. That's one version. There's another version, 4-armed version. Okay, no, there's a simpler version. Okay, but you like that? You put him on your crown. He's inseparable from the Dalai Lama. That's who the Dalai Lama is supposed to be, that version.
There's one over in this pictures.
Yeah, and there's one over His Holiness the Dalai Lama. Okay, so you like that? You put that on your crown, right? And then you recite Om Mani Padme Hum. That's his mantra, the Buddha of compassion. So maybe you like Tara. Here she is, green Tara. Okay, so maybe you like her and you put her, so, and you can interchange them. You want to do a little Cherishing mantra, you do that for a while. Then that dissolves and Tara appears. They're related anyway. Related. Okay, so let's think about your refuge. And you can think if you have your teacher on your crown. Let's recite these 4 lines. I go for refuge until I'm enlightened to the Buddha, the Dharma, and the Supreme Assembly. By my practice of giving and other perfections, may I become a Buddha to benefit all sentient beings. I go for refuge until I'm enlightened to the Buddha, the Dharma, and the Supreme Assembly. By my practice of giving and other perfections, may I become a Buddha to benefit all sentient beings. Then we'll chant in the phonetics. O Sangye Chodan Soki Chonam La Janchu Bardu Deni Kyap Suchi Dagi Jin Sogi Pe Sonam Ki Drola Penchu Sangye Drup Parshon. Then we're going to continue on. So now we've got a world that at times is pretty messy. Now we're in a good situation here. We're in this lovely room. Every perfect condition, we're in a pretty orderly society. It's not perfect out there, but basically people stop at red lights. Sometimes, most of the time, people are, but there's a certain order you can go into, stores and shops. People are kind to each other. That's great. It's not like that everywhere in the world. And some places in the world are at war right now, killing each other. Okay. So we think about all these beings and you see stuff in the news and it overwhelms you. What can I do? 4 measurables. Okay. So we're just going to read these and you want to imagine all these beings around the planet, all the beings in Russia and Ukraine, all the beings in Gaza, Israel, all the people starving, right? Line number 1, love, immeasurable love. May all sentient beings have happiness and the causes of happiness. You just visualize that going out, transcending all their suffering. Number 2, compassion, infinite compassion. May all sentient beings be free from suffering and the causes of suffering. Number 3, immeasurable joy. May all sentient beings be inseparable from the happiness that is free from suffering. Number 4, immeasurable equanimity. May all sentient beings abide in equanimity, free from attachment for friends and hatred for enemies. So you can do that as long and short as you want. You can just read the 4 lines with some feeling. You can take a moment, read 1 line, and visualize light rays going out and showering immeasurable love on all these beings. So bringing them great happiness. Next line, you can imagine showering great compassion on all of them. So easing them of suffering. You can, if you want a little higher level practice, you can do it with tonglen. You're taking their suffering, anything that obscures, creates an obstacle to them feeling love and huge happiness. And I take that as I breathe in, and it destroys and melts this seed of my self-cherishing, this knot of my self-cherishing. Then I offer them all the causes and conditions to feel great love and happiness. And you can spend some time doing that if you like. Okay. You can do that with each one. If you don't have a lot of time, you just read the 4 lines. Okay. Then we come to the short 7 limb. Short 7 limb. Let's read this. Now you had a little bit of explanation. Reverently, I prostrate with my body, speech, and mind. I present clouds of every type of offering, actual and imagined. I declare all my negative actions accumulated since beginningless time and rejoice in the merit of all holy and ordinary beings. Please remain until the end of cyclic existence and turn the wheel of Dharma for living beings. I dedicate my own merits and those of all others to great enlightenment. So Rinpoche said to me, as you put your hands together when you read this, it's a very powerful prayer. Again, you try. You try. Now, Rinpoche's also said, when you stand in front of these beautiful images, right? If you put your hands together like this and the thumbs are inside, the jewel in the lotus, they're not empty. You want to create prosperity. You don't want to have any empty water bowls or empty thumbs are inside. Rinpoche says incredible merit for you to put your hands together in front of a holy image like that. So again, first we try something and then the mind catches up later. I get a feeling for it. Oh, maybe it is good to do it. Right? People get embarrassed in the West. So they don't want to put their hands, somebody sees them, oh, they think, oh, there's some holy being. No, this is your merit, your mind. I learned that from my guru. I had faith in him. So when he told me to do something like that, I would do it. And then I checked the effect on my mind. Okay, but all these other practices he told me to do, I do them. I like the effect on my mind. So deepen my faith in him. We have to start somewhere, Rinpoche said once. I have to start somewhere. Then short mandala offering. Mandala is like a world system. World system. Okay. So sometimes we put our hands like this. This represents the mandala world system. So the ring fingers back together, back to back, are Mount Meru, the center of Buddhist cosmology, the center of the universe. Right. And then we've got, as the pointers grab the middle fingers and pull them to opposite sides. Okay, and then you've got your thumbs pulling your pinkies to the opposite sides. Those represent the 4 continents. You got your little universe right here. Okay. Some people put their mala, their rosary, in it so the hands aren't empty. Some people put their watch or earrings or a ring like that in the hands. And that's when the Tibetans will give out rice to put in your hands so your hands aren't empty if you're in an initiation. People do that. Okay. And then this is what sets up, I'm ready to set up my practice, or this is something we do before the teaching. Okay. In a sense, I'm offering symbolically, I'm offering like my precious jewel, which is what they did in ancient days to get 1 line of the Dharma. That's how rare the Dharma was. Now, everything's given and nobody listens. Nobody's interested, right? This is just the way that, degenerate times go. So this is symbolic. So we're going to read this in English. This ground, anointed with perfume, strewn with flowers, adorned with Mount Meru, 4 continents, sun and moon. I imagine this is a Buddha field and offer it. May all living beings enjoy this pure land. And the last line is, please, my holy teacher, accept this mandala offering. Idam Guru Ragna Mandala Kam Niratayami. Then there's short dedication prayers, prayers for His Holiness Dalai Lama. You can read Rinpoche's prayer to swiftly return. Again, if I just took you through that daily practice, you read it, is it 5 minutes? You know, that's how short. I'm just saying you want to get some familiarity. You don't have to read them really slowly, but you want to have some heart, that you're thinking about it, that you have some understanding of it. So no excuses. Now you have the understanding like that. So again, that's an abbreviated version of what's a little longer in the further back section of the Guru Shakyamuni Buddha. And then if you go to Lama Tsongkhapa Guru Yoga, which is on the page it's going to be emailed to you, that has basically a little bit more elaborate 7-limb prayer. Okay. And you're visualizing Lama Tsongkhapa instead, who is our patron saint that founded our tradition, the Gelug or Gelugpa tradition of Tibetan Buddhism. He lived from 1347 to 1419. He was a genius, a Buddha, I mean, amazing being. Okay. And you have him and his 2 disciples. It tells you what to visualize. And it's a practice where you can accumulate wisdom. And it describes it right in there. 7 wisdoms. You visualize different things. Like one of the things I'm absorbing and dissolving, infinite little Manjushris. That's the Buddha of infinite wisdom. Manjushri.
To the at
Okay.
the end on the far.
So Manjushri is over here, the far left. He has a sword, because the sword, not violent, cuts delusion. He cuts the mistaken view in your mind, helps you realize emptiness. Manjushri. Manjushri. So what this whole practice, Lama Tsongkhapa represents Manjushri, right? And you can place Lama Tsongkhapa, you can have a little Buddha at his heart. You can have your guru at the heart of the little Buddha. Got these 3-layer beings, but all inseparable from the Buddha of infinite wisdom. So it tells you in that booklet, you know, exactly what to think, what to do, what to visualize, right? And it contains a 5-line mantra. Because what we did, the Guru Yoga, Shakyamuni Buddha's mantra, very easy. Okay, but so any Guru Yoga practice, you pop the Guru there, that deity inseparable, and you want to think that my Guru, whomever I'm visualizing, that connection is inseparable from the Buddha, is inseparable from whatever deity. They can, all 3 of those can be one, and then you do a dissolution at the end, dissolving it into me, yoke to me. That is my higher power. That is what I'm trying to become. Through those practices, I become that. So the Lama Tsongkhapa Guru Yoga is just a different type, and it tells you what to visualize. And then it has this, that mantra is a little bit longer, 5 lines. Okay. In Tibetan, it's a little tongue twisty. Mig me tse wei churchin chen rei zi, dream me kempa wampa jumpa yang, dupu mala janzi sang wei dang, gachin kepe tuken tokapa, lo sang drape, sabla sowa deb. What it simply is, if you read it in English, you're making a request to 3 deities. Infinite compassion, Chen Rei Zig. Okay. Infinite wisdom, Manjushri, and infinite power or skillful means, Vajrapani. And they're all one with Lama Tsongkhapa. So that's another one of our Nundro or preliminary practices. You'd recite 100,000, okay? Or you recite 50,000. You can do a little bit every day. I do a mala every day. I've been doing it for years. It's a mind balancer. It's a mind balancer. I did the retreat some years ago at Laudo. If you do it full time in retreat, maybe it takes you 5 or 6 weeks or something. But you do 100 the mall is 100 beats. You do 100 every day. After 3 years, that's 100,000. So you break it down, bite-sized chunks. How to do. You like that? You learn the mantra. You can also recite 100,000 in English. It's okay. Some people do half-half. A little bit, they like the flow of the Tibetan. They learn that. They go to English. Very powerful for your mind. Super powerful. You finish a certain number, you gain some confidence. Okay. So I just wanted to explain a little bit how to engage in the practices. And now you need to start doing them. Right? Right?
Yes.
No more excuses. Okay. And I just want to check because we're close to 12:15. So we have, should we take a break at 12:30?
It's up to you. And I mean, everybody here, I know some people said they might come after lunch.
Yep.
That's their karma.
And
They
what were
come
we
in.
starting? The second session was,
It's the
what?
same session. I mean, it's the same, you mean topic or time?
no, we're taking a break in the middle. Correct.
Yes,
So
yeah, so.
when would you like to start the second? And
And
what
we-
time do we end today?
4:30.
4:30. Okay. So why don't we do this? We're going to take a break in about 15 minutes and maybe we'll go until we'll keep this first session. We're not going to take a lunch break for a little bit, but we'll have a bathroom break. You can have some tea. So we'll do that in about 15, 20 minutes or so.
Okay.
And then what we'll do is take a break for lunch, maybe at do we need just an hour for lunch? Would that work? Or
Yes, if that works. for
does
you,
that, do
yes.
people think they, okay, so an hour for lunch and then we'll come back. So then we will have a session from, so if we break for lunch around 1:30, we'll take about an hour and then we'll come back for a couple hours. Yeah. How does that sound? Sound good for everybody? Okay. And no one escapes at lunch. Come back. I know some people, well, you lose people and sometimes people take breaks and things like that. And they go, I've had enough of that. Okay. So I really wanted to go over that because setting that up and doing that, I can't stress how important it is and whatever level you can do it at. You have to start small. So maybe you're just first setting up sitting and getting the sitting place. For some people really new, establish the place in your house. It takes a little while to get it going. Then you just sit down. Don't wait till you get the elaborate table for the altar. Just sit down and get started.
So, and I just want to offer, we haven't been doing Lama Tsongkhapa here like a lot of centers do. But if people are interested, and even if people aren't interested, we'll start once a month on a Guru Yoga Day doing the Lama Tsongkhapa.
Yeah, I mean,
Guru
actually, a
Yoga
lot
at
of the
the center.
centers don't do Lama Tsongkhapa Guru Yoga. They'll do the Lama Chopa twice a month. So again, the practices Rinpoche's given us, these pujas, a lot of people don't resonate because they're reciting things they don't understand. So the Lama Chopa is really what's better on the 10th and 25th of the. So even if you get a small group, I mean, we did it at Milarepa with 2 of us for 5 years.
Wow.
I'm not kidding, but it creates a blessing
Yeah.
for the center. So if whomever you've got that can do those practices, if it's 1 or 2 of you, it's done here in this room. And people can join online. People can come in person. You can learn a little bit about it. Anyone can attend it. You don't need Highest Yoga Tantra to attend it. It's just an elaborate 7-limb prayer with other things included. It's a beautiful practice that you can build all your practices into ultimately, but that's the one that normally is done. And then on Tara Day, on the 8th of the Tibetan calendar, to do the Tara, Chittamani Tara, the 4 mandala offerings.
Right.
Really helpful as well. And it's a lot of chanting and a lot of words, but it really has an effect for the center. And the medicine Buddha's usually done on the full moon on the 15th.
We do those very.
So if there's a way to, those 4 practices, I know it can be tedious for people, but honestly, at Milarepa Center, we didn't have much of a community at all. It was so remote. And just 2 of us there kept it going. But what happens is the medicine Buddha, a lot more people started turning up because it's a healing practice. We all need healing, and they have people that they're doing it for that are sick. Great. Tara people like because it clears obstacles. So we got a lot of people for those that came because we did it regularly. The Lama Chopa were less, but we kept it going too. Sometimes 5 people were there. That's okay. You can do, it's better to do in a group, and then slowly people can just join and learn. And when you get, sometimes you can get somebody to explain a little bit about it, or somebody that has a good voice that can lead it occasionally, when they're there, can ask different teachers, visiting teachers that come to join. So you can do like that. You try your best, at least once a month you can do something like that. So it's different than the Lama Tsongkhapa Guru Yoga. If you want to have a practice session of people joining that to learn it, that could be a nice activity that you do once or twice a month, just as a separate program. Could do like that. So I mean, if I was in the States more, I could be happy to lead something like that, maybe in the future, or something we could do, practice together. And so again, on the sheet, you're going to get the information I'm sending through Rebecca and Don. There is a video commentary that I did for you guys in Miami Beach. I think you were the guys that requested. So that's there, that explains that Lama Tsongkhapa Guru Yoga practice, that short booklet that explains exactly how to do it and what to think. So there's no excuses. You watch the video slowly. You don't have time to watch the whole thing. 15 minutes, take some notes, do another half hour, slowly watch it again if you want, so that you're clear and then you know it. And then after you do it for a while, You got it down. It's not that difficult of a practice, not that. But again, if you want some little anchor to your stuff, and then just start slowly and start a little bit of meditation, a little concentration, 10 minutes. I just gave you the orientation. Posture, sit up straight. Don't lean back against a chair. And it's not good. It's not going to help. You want to have a nice open flow. You hold, unless you have an injury, you hold your back up, your back will become strong. Relax. That's, Americans, when I sit in retreats, we're not all American here, but when I lead a retreat and I look around the room and I see everybody's like, meditation. I'm like, you got to really disengage that nervous system to start. And then the meditation just comes. But we're not relaxed. We're not relaxed as a culture. Part of my practice is relax. Just relax and do that 2-minute scan. I'm good. Relax. Okay. There's another thing, and I'm going to do this tomorrow. We're going to start with a little bit more meditation, focused meditation from that. So you just, again, it's habituation, doing it again and again and again. You won't need any pages. You'll just, like that. And you just try your best. Just try your best like that. Any questions so far on what I'm talking about or any of these practices I mentioned? Sorry, I can't see the people online. Let me just. Any questions? Anyone online? They're all sleeping. Everybody okay?
So I have a question about
Please.
expectations with the practice.
Great.
Because I expect the results, like, okay, like this $1,000, I finish and okay, I have it. Like
Yeah.
immediate results
Yep.
with the practice. So I find myself in this kind of battle with the expectations of. And then I said, okay, I did my water bowls for 2 months. Nothing happened. I'm
Okay.
just worrying.
So what do you think of other expectations? Like when you set yourself up, you have family, your family, and you go out and the kids have an expectation about something. How does it work? Doesn't always meet the expectation, doesn't it?
No,
Never.
And I tell my students and my kids and everybody and myself, like, you see the expectation, just do the practice. Just open the road and things will show up.
Because
But they have a
expectation.
lot of attachment to that.
Sure. No, and that's our culture. That's how we're born and bred a lot. Like I need to see immediate result. That's not this path. So expectation for me is the mother of disappointment. I've said that many times. It just, I lead these pilgrimages and we, the orientation in the beginning and Gina was with me and just explaining to people, they're going to have expectations of what Laudo looks like. It never looks like that. What the cave is like. It's never, you meet somebody, you hear their name for a while and then you meet them and you go, oh, they don't look at all like I thought they'd look like. It never meets it. So you just have to start letting go of that in your mind, is let it go. It's just another obstacle. It's another obstacle that comes in. We want it right away. But also look at your mind. You've been doing this for what, 10, 15 years? So go back 10, 15 years to your mind. How was it?
Oh, totally. Completely.
So you see 10 or 15 years, I've made some progress, but I didn't see it all at once, but definitely something's changing for the better. I mean, all the students I see and in knowing them for 5 years, 10 years, 15 years, I see changes in them, significant positive changes. So it's happening. The process is happening. So it's just keep showing up for yourself of like, I have to let that go. I have to just let it go. See it, make the expectation pop into a bubble and let the bubble float off again and again. So that's what we just have to keep doing. Yeah. It's not easy. It's not easy. Yes. And sorry, Esther, I didn't, I know you're not sleeping. She popped in. She goes, I'm not sleeping. Then turn your camera on. I sometimes think it makes people a little more present because they have to kind of be on the screen and, there are some teachers. And the reason is there's energy. And I noticed this on Zoom when we started, boy, it was like people are doing other stuff, but they're trying, and it's there. The energy is there. Oh, there she is. Hello. Pretty face. Wonderful. Sorry, I didn't mean to put you on the spot. Okay, so we have somebody else saying, would you mind speaking about the beads again? Okay, if you put your camera on. So it's somebody else. So the mala, the rosary, this is a rosary called a mala in Tibetan. They can be made of wood, they can be made of anything, skull bones, whatever. I've had a few obstacles with my malas. I have lost 2 malas in the past year that Rinpoche gave me. I have, so you see, I have beads at 7 and 21 so this was, I strung this personally. I had somebody string it for me because of my practices. I wanted beads I could feel at that level. And I had 2 others that Rinpoche gave me that I lost, one on the pilgrimage and one in the move. It's just these, and it's hard because you can't get them from Rinpoche anymore. So they gave me one from the house that I asked. I said, I know that cabinet and there's all these malas. Are they still there? And so they gave me one from there, and I'll have it restrung at some point. So this is just a way, like Catholic nuns, you're counting your prayers, you're counting mantras on like that. So somebody asked online. Sorry, Rebecca.
No, I was just gonna ask you what, if you've experienced or what you think about, we talked a little bit last night about maybe in regards to like the expectation thing, that sometimes you suddenly in a, well, relatively short for lifetime, like over a year, you may suddenly, after going through some adversity and taking refuge and really taking refuge, that then you do see a sort of an exponential change, a shift. And so like maybe you've gone on years doing, and there's little things you might notice, but then suddenly you say, wow, I've had a significant shift. And
Yes.
I don't know if I'm making that clear what I'm asking.
Yes, I
but-
mean, sometimes that happens where you, and we all go through the practices like this. This is our path. It's up and down. So sometimes things are easier and you're really enjoying, and then you hit a plateau and you're bored. That's part of the practice, right? Or then suddenly you get inspired and you go, I think I want to do a retreat. Like I'm going to start with, there's a group weekend retreat there. I think I'll try that. I don't know what that's about, but I think I'll go and check it out. And before that, you never thought, you never thought you'd pick up the book on emptiness and read it. You tried, but you couldn't do it. And then suddenly, so like wisdom practices, there's one I do every day, with a mala of Manjushri's mantra that was given to me years ago by a very great Lama. Deepens your wisdom. So does the Lama Tsongkhapa Guru yoga practice, because you've got 7 wisdoms you're absorbing, meaning visualizations of tiny Manjushris dissolving into you. Manjushri mantras, infinite, dissolving into you. Manjushri seed syllable, D, infinite of those dissolving into you. Text dissolving into you. Deepens your wisdom. But you just have to have the faith to keep going over and over and over. And then, like you said, suddenly, all of a sudden, I'm reading the emptiness book and I think I'm understanding more. It's like that. So the practice, sometimes something does get unfurled and something purified, and you're having good. We look at our lives, like sometimes we're sailing along, everything's going great, and suddenly, our kids are sick and this is happening, and I hate my job and something changed, and it's like that. So sometimes you're accessing something. So sometimes we'd also say the deepest suffering we're going through is a type of purification. So make sure you glean the messages from it with as little folding in on yourself and trashing yourself or trashing others in the process, that you're taking responsibility and just showing up with your mind. Like, what is my mind telling me right now? And then Lama Zopa Rinpoche's teaching is everything comes from the mind. So rather than blaming someone else that I'm going through the suffering or this is happening or this is from my mind. I'm not blaming myself either. I'm just going, wow, I created some stuff in the past. It's creating this. I need to clean it up. I don't want to die with this undone. So let me just buckle my seatbelt right now. I need to pull it a little tighter, keep my eyes open, and keep doing the practice. And then when we had Lama Zopa Rinpoche available presently in a form we could connect with, that we could ask him for specific practices, because now I'm going through this or that, especially if you saw him as your teacher, you wanted to get advice, you can find other teachers to ask advice for. Make sure you follow the advice if you ask for the advice. Because that will create obstacles. If you don't follow the advice, you don't like what they said, and you're going to ask somebody else, then you start, and people do that all the time. They get confused. And it really confuses your practice and creates an obstacle between you and the teacher, like that. If you don't feel comfortable with the advice the teacher's giving you, then just speak directly to them sincerely. I don't think I can do that. I've got 3 kids. I'm working full time. I'm a single parent. I don't think I'm going to be able to do that. Can you please, or think about it. If you leave them and you think about it and you go, I don't think I'll be, then contact them and let them know rather than just blowing off the practice. That's our tradition. That's how we motor along our tradition. So there are people that can help. Sometimes you can ask another student that's been at it longer and they have good advice as well. So those are different things we can practice. Okay. So, and Deepa, did I answer your question about the mala, the rosary? Wait, there's some more stuff here. It's probably easier if somebody else from the center can check the chats and stuff while we're talking, so I don't have to.
Yeah, we don't have another device, so
Oh.
we can.
Oh, I see. Okay. Let me see, because that's a little easier. Okay, let me see if there's anything else. Okay. Suggestion on a simple, easy reading about emptiness, maybe a book or just a text for a beginner. I am going to speak about that later today. Yeah. Okay, great. Okay, great. Thank you.
Sort that on the break.
Yeah, that's fine. That's fine. Okay. So let me go into other ways, more practical ways, but this is practical about the books. And I want to talk about some other things of how do I ground myself and realize in the face of what's going on in the world. I'm going to give a whole variety of techniques, practices. We are going to talk about lojong and emptiness between today and tomorrow. So there's a lot of, this packs in a lot of different information at different levels because we're all at different levels here. Okay. One thing I wanted to read, I love this. This is a reading and from, I forget the name of the book, from Pema Chodron. Pema Chodron. She's a nun in a different tradition, American nun, wonderful. She's quite old now. She's fantastic. And she's written some incredible Dharma books that I love. Some of the early books she wrote are When Things Fall Apart. Okay, so things are falling apart. That's samsara's nature. So that's a really good preliminary book of how do you want to view it? It's very practical, very practical. She has another book, Start Where You Are. Very practical. The titles are great. Okay. And this is where you are. So every day for me is really a start where you are, begin again moment. Every day I show up. The practice is pretty much the same, but it varies every day. And it also varies because my mind's different every day. Sometimes I feel really spacious and I'm also maybe not traveling or I have more time, then I have more time to roll out a deeper practice. And I might include other practices and visualizations. And sometimes I don't have a lot of time and I'm on the road. I'm on planes doing my practice. Sometimes I'm driving the car doing practice in the car. I've recorded all of my practice. So it's on my phone. So it plays through the car if I need it. It can play through my earphones. It's all recorded. Part of it is on memory sticks. One of it is with a will and a living will and my Dharma will that's all included and it's in my brother's safety deposit box. So that they don't know Buddhist stuff. So that's why if I'm dying and if I'm near them, at least the family knows who to call and they can just plug me in and there's my practice all ready to go the way I like to do it. Okay. So Rinpoche's often had prayer circles around people actively dying. Right. But somebody may be doing it in a way you don't like and you can hear it and you're like, but you're dying now, so you can't really move. But so again, but we do the best we can. Okay. So I want to have that influence around me rather than, think about what you're doing in the car. What are you listening to? What are you doing on airplanes when you travel? Think about all the movies that you're watching on the airplanes. I want to make sure that practice is what I'm more familiar with, right? That's going on, that's what comes up in my more subtle mind, that tune of that prayer is what arises. It's just imprint. So Gom again, most of you know this. We'd say this is a Gompa. Okay, so meditation room, Gompa. Okay, but Gom, G-O-M in Tibetan doesn't really mean meditation. It means familiarize. So meditation is a form of familiarizing you, habituating you with your true nature. Your true nature is virtue. That's your true nature, through your Buddha nature. So that's what we're trying to do in meditation, is familiarize myself, making good habits again and again, and familiarizing myself with positive mind states. So this is, and I'll read a few of this. I've done this before in some other classes here. This is really helpful. I find I return to this a lot. Is she has a quote from Suzuki Roshi, a great Zen master. And so this is our situation in samsara. Life is like stepping into a boat that is about to sail out to sea and sink. Okay, that's our situation. So if you're kind of grabbing on for, and I hear people say stability, safety, and I know people go, now I got the house, so everything's going to be cool. And then an earthquake comes and the house splits in two. I've seen this. I'm not kidding. Then a fire comes through. And there's, you finally got your little piece of land. It's happened to two friends of mine, Santa Cruz area, 2020 fire, the CZU fire. That was the end of that house. So they got their little plot, they built their house, everything was great, and the garden and the flowers, and then overnight it was gone, right? And then the hassles of that. So we keep thinking there's some certainty and stability, not in samsara. So as a human being, you came back with something called contaminated aggregates. Okay, I'm not laying a trip on you. I'm just saying the human mind is flawed. Human being's mind is flawed. And those aggregates are collection, 5 of them. One is the form aggregate, is your body, and 4 mental aggregates, your mind. Okay, and what happens is, as an ordinary being, I come back with a mistaken awareness in those aggregates, and then I engage from there, and that creates suffering. But a lot of us aren't aware of that. So the external world that's not in this room is going about their lives, reaching out for what I think is happiness, my house, my cars, I got my partner, I now have my kids, I've got the job, and I got the house on the beach, and I have the money, and I have all these things, and those things are going to make me happy. And people aren't that happy. It's a surprise for them, or there's a relative happiness, but then they're dying. And suddenly things change because the mind didn't have the support. So I got all the external supported, but I didn't take care of the mind. And I don't have control of the mind when I'm dying. And I didn't put enough seeds in that consciousness when I could, so that I'm terrified of what's going to come. I'm having terrible visions. I'm having terrible premonitions. Why a dear friend of mine, late 70s, all right, been practicing Dharma for a long time, is accessing extreme anxiety now and depression. Somehow didn't put the right seeds in the mind, but she's also accessing some purification. I was trying to explain to her, work with her, right? But somehow the seeds, the Dharma practice was more superficial, perhaps. So it's not really sustaining where she's able to get a hold of it. So as a result, it's really freaking her out now. What's freaking her out? Aging is freaking her out. Aging is freaking her out. For someone 77 to say to me, but I'm young. Okay. Well, it's relative. I don't think and 70 seems pretty young to me now. It didn't when I was 30, but it seems younger. But 77 to say you're young, I think you're missing a little something. You may feel young in mind and feel great and wonder, that's fantastic. I know people at 90 that are still doing great, living on that's fantastic. But to think you're young at 77, maybe young at mind, young-hearted.
What does she think is old?
I'm curious. I don't know. So what's 30? That must be, juvenile or like infancy. If you're so, but again, it's not, there's a denial. And we have lots of denials. So again, think about to step into a boat and sail out to sea, that it's going to sink. So if I have the premise, samsara, knowing suffering is there, the boat is sinking. The boat is sinking right now, you guys. I hate to break it to you, but it's sinking. However, Dharma practice makes you soar. You fly. It doesn't matter if the boat sinks, because the boat was just a little vehicle temporarily, but I'm okay. I'm going on. I knew the boat was sinking. right? And what happens is your Dharma practice is, I knew the boat was sinking, so I've got my zodiac, my little inflatable raft out here, right? You know, that's the guru, that's my practice. That's my guru yoga practice. And I know the boat's sinking, so I'm going to hop into that. I know that's not forever as well, but I'm going to just carry that vehicle to the next vehicle, to the next thing. And then the rocket ship takes off ultimately. But I'm not attached to any of that external stuff. It's all in my mind. Okay, then she goes on to say, okay, and think about your own, and this is something really helpful in the break time. I want you to think about this. So we're not going to blah, blah. We're going to take a break soon. We're not going to blah, blah on the break. I want you to use that time to think about, and if you talk with someone else, you can stay silent. If you talk to someone else, I want you to engage with people, discuss what you're hanging on to as certainty in your life and stability in your life. What does it make you suffer at times? How deeply can you count on those things? Even if it's concepts, people, how deeply can you count on those things? Okay, and I want you to think about, and then we're going to take a break. Okay. So she goes on, how can we live wholeheartedly in the face of impermanence? This is death. I think what my friend's really freaked out is her death is coming. She knows that.
Yeah.
She intellectually has it. She knows that, right? And that's scary for people. We don't know what will come. I don't want to be an animal. I don't want to come back as an animal. You know, we were looking at sea turtles and fish yesterday. We were looking at seahorses. They were so cool. They're so psychedelic, right? We were looking at these things, and at one point, then I said to Gina, and I said, yeah, and I'm really hoping that rebirth is closed for me. Like there they are, they're in a pool and they swim around. And they swim around again. And they go, this is us in another sense, just a little bit more evolved like that. And so again, how can we live wholeheartedly in the face of impermanence? Okay, knowing that one day we're going to die. Okay, so how are you doing with that? We've talked about death in here before. We've done death programs, 9-point death meditation. Okay, what is it like to realize, okay, that I find this easier. What is it like to realize we can never completely and finally get it all together? Are you okay with that? Okay. I'm so much more okay right now. So now I'm leaving the country May 9th for the rest of the year. There's a lot to do. There's a lot. I'm kind of with lists, and I just moved across the country, so it was just too much, and my schedule's too much. So, but anyway, now I'm at the point where a few years ago I wouldn't have done this, but now I'm at the point where I'm like, whatever I get done gets done, and what doesn't, and it's prioritized of what has to get done. There's a few things that really need to happen. They're at the top of the list. Some of them are done. So it was like, and whatever doesn't get done, I can live with it because it's not all going to get done. That's life. Yes.
And that's kind of what I wanted to ask earlier, is that, we're trained to set goals, to be very goal oriented, and to match. So it's like this balance of setting goals and being goal oriented and setting your expectations
Mhm.
of those goals.
I don't get into expectations. It's more like, if I have the goal set, we need some goals, but I'm realistic that they may need to be adjusted. So it's a little bit more realistic. If I have this expectation, I am setting myself up for but it's more like I'm going to go for that goal and figure out, what do I need to do to accomplish it? And I'm also, make sure you have realistic goals. Sometimes we're in some fantasy land setting something that, I may have set an unrealistic goal of getting these 2 trees chopped down at the house before I leave. I'm a little bit nervous about that, but it's not a life or death thing, basically. It may be a life or death thing if I don't do it and the tree falls on the neighbor's house or something. So, but again, I'd set realistic goals, and then I'm going to make sure I've got the steps in place, and also time management skills. So it's not a last minute stress laden thing like that. And I just try to leave the word expectation out, because sometimes that doesn't really seem to help. It's more like, here's the goal, here's what I need to do it. And then I have to adjust it if it doesn't seem I'm getting close to it and it's not going to happen. And I'll just adjust like that. Does that make sense? Is that helpful? So you do have goals. Certainly we're going to set some things. We have to practically engage in things and get that grocery list done at times. I'm just using that as a symbol. So, but I like this idea of, we have this idea we're going to finally get it all together. Most people I know have this, where I'm getting, and I hear people say, as soon as I change jobs,
Mhm.
everything's going to be great. As soon as I get the relationship, that as soon as I get my altar set up, as soon as I move, everything will be, I've had this really interesting fluidity of moving to the center 2.5 years ago, California. And I realized I did come here in 2022. I remember now. I came here it wasn't before the pandemic. I was here in 2022. I came as a little escape from California for a brief, like a very short visit. I think I came, and I think I saw some of you then. And so this fluidity where instead of having this thing where, okay, now I'm here and I'm like, it's just been in movement the whole time. So it's been easier now because I'm just moving through and I just keep moving. So I'm just kind of going, okay, so what's showing up now? I'm in Florida teaching. And the bigger purpose, can we keep this going? The bigger purpose is, I just want to help people. I just want to help things. How can I help? So it could be teaching, then somebody might have a question, then I might go out with somebody, we'll discuss something, have, this. So it's just, if I keep that going, that's kind of a buoyant cushion I'm riding. It's a little bit in the old days when I lived once in France, and when we crossed the English Channel, they had the very slow, called the boat train. It was laborious. It was all night to get across the channel, right? Now there's the tunnel, they call it. So you take a train, super fast, you're there. But at one point they had something called a hovercraft. They probably have some in Florida. And it goes up on air, and more quickly you could get across the channel. I remember the hovercraft. So again, I want to keep the air in there. That's my practice. It's like, because once it settles back into the sea and the engines go out, you're tossed. I remember and it used to happen in storms, and we would go back into the sea and everybody would start throwing up from the motion. So you want to keep it going. And there's always that awareness. You look around, who can I help? How can I be helpful? And it means also, we're going to talk about this as well, self-compassion. I need to make breaks for myself, time to do some things, kindness to myself, with the bigger motivation to help others. But you need that balance. And the balance also to get your goals done, the balance to establish realistic goals like that. So I know now, like, I'm not going to get everything done because that's samsara. I don't need to get it all done now because it's not going to happen. So I don't need to have that unrealistic and the driving. And, it's more like, okay, I got the list. How are we doing? Am I managing the time? Well, people procrastinate. I just read a thing online of Lama Zopa Rinpoche on laziness. Read it. Go to the Wisdom Archive, Lama Yeshe Wisdom Archive. Everything's categorized by topic. If that's your issue, read the stuff on laziness and procrastination. We do it all the time. So if you put stuff off enough, I'm going to be the night before I'm leaving and all these things not done. I'm not going to be happy. I'm going to be squeezed tight, upset, oh, this didn't get finished. And so I've got to keep motoring through every day. There's other things I might want to do that day and relax more, but I'm a little bit like, come on. You've set that, this is what you need to do. You know that. You'll have this time later to relax a little bit, but right now, let's just get this done. And you feel better. You feel better. So, and then we're going to take a break. Is it possible to increase our tolerance for instability and change? Is it possible to increase our tolerance for instability and change? We're going to take a break with that thought. Take a break. Let's take 15 minutes, have some tea, go to the bathroom, stretch your legs. If you do talk with other people, again, we're not going to blah, blah, gossip, wasted stuff. Talk about these kind of things. Anything from this morning. Okay? Thank you. Thank you to those online. We'll take a 15-minute break. Maybe does it help if I put my Zoom on and launch into Zoom? And
Yes,
I can probably-
we could, because normally Venerable Tendra, she uses her computer when she teaches.
okay.
So, or otherwise we can, I can get on my phone.
Yeah, and I will have I will have, let me just pause the recording. Yeah. just stuff like that. So
Yes,
if you guys
yes.
can handle that instead, that,
Right, yes.